Michael, you've been fostering now for what, 12 years?
Yes.
Could you take us back to 12 years ago and how it all started?
Okay, 12 years ago, I decided that, you know what, there's a lot more that I can do within the community and for the youngsters around the area, because you hear of a lot of people that come from broken homes, crime takes in, or split parenting and so forth. And there's a lot, and plus I worked with a lot of the youths in the area. And for me, it was just a progressional step. And I had the space in my household to do that. So I thought, you know, let me give someone an opportunity to see where they can do better.
So how was it in the early days?
In the early days, it was a bit challenging. I guess it's about understanding the child and what type of child you get, because no two children are the same. You've got similar children, but it's not really the same. And, you know, they've got some pros and cons, but you just have to take it as it is, because we as adults, we have pros and cons as well.
What have you learned?
Every day is an experience. And I think, especially working for Children First, every day is a learning experience. You learn different things with different children, with the different professionals you work with, from the different scenarios. So a scenario may happen where, I don't know, something's gone missing in the household, and then you learn how you manage how you deal with it, and then you learn from it. So you take that as a learning tool as well. And I guess some of the valuable things I've learned within fostering is patience, time, and understanding. I don't feel I can elaborate any more than that. I mean, every day is a learning day. So when I wake up, I'm actually excited.
So when we spoke to Sarah just now, 12 months in being a foster carer, and talked about the assessment process, etc. For you, it's now 12 years in. So what support, whether it's day in or year in or week in, do you get from Children First?
We're supported on a frequent basis. So, for example, whenever there's a scenario that occurs, I'd normally drop an email, because it could be as easy as either dropping an email, which is more convenient for myself, or calling, which may be convenient for other people, or actually calling your supervising social worker, who's the person that will supervise you and keep in touch with you, who represents the agency, to come round and have a formal or informal talk with you about situations that may occur. So the support is frequent and it's very detailed, and I guess the agency actually spend a lot of time with implementing, I think the best way to say it is implementing support for the carers, especially the ones that have just come into fostering. And the support is consistent, so you'll always get that support. So I know that when I pick that phone call up, not only can I just speak to my supervisor and social worker, I can actually speak to any other member of staff who will be familiar or have some form of knowledge of the case and will know me as a carer and a person and not just a number.
What's the hardest part of what you do?
I think the hardest part for me is saying no to another placement. Because I guess it's about, you know, when you say no to a placement, you're hearing a child that's in need, and unfortunately you can't take the child, maybe it's because it's the incorrect match. And when I say incorrect match, it could be, for example, only you may live in a flat and the child requires wheelchair access and there's no lifts, or there's no space in the house because you're filled up to your maximum because you have a set amount of children that you are designated to have at any one given time. So I guess it's refusing or just saying no to a placement, really.
Is it a job?
It can be deemed a job, because again, what you're doing is you're waking up and you're putting someone else before a lot of stuff. And again, it's before a lot of your own needs. So what you're doing is you're waking up, you're assessing the situation, whether it's a child, whether it's a scenario they're in, whether it's a school, and you're dealing with professionals on a day-to-day basis. So it can be deemed a job, and it requires as much brain power and as much enthusiasm and as much energy as a normal 9 to 5, well actually it's a lot more than a 9 to 5, because it goes throughout into the evening as well. So it does require a lot more, and to be fair, I could deem it a lot more challenging than a job, because at least with a job you know what time you're going home and you can switch off. But with fostering, unfortunately, you don't really switch off as such. It just becomes easier as the evening goes on and so forth, and you learn to manage your time, and the key thing behind it is managing.
And so anybody here now, in June 2016, anybody who's contemplating, thinking about fostering, what's your advice to them?
I think it's a fantastic thing to do. Fostering allows you to display all the skills you have, especially the interpersonal skills you have. If you're a person that's outgoing and you're a good communicator, you can communicate with the children in terms of how you feel, how they feel, in order to help them through certain stages of their lives. You can also communicate with other professionals. whether it's the school, whether it's the dentists, the doctors, the police, whether local authorities. There's a range of different people you can engage and interact with. And it gets you out and about, and it makes you feel young, especially with the children you're with.
And the assessment process, question we asked Sarah,
Yes.
is that somebody knows that maybe Kim or somebody else was going to come around and assess you. What's your, must be people who must be so nervous, have a sleepless night, etc. Or what's your advice to somebody if somebody's coming around to assess you?
Upon somebody visiting and coming around to give you an assessment or do an assessment on you, the best thing you can do, and I guess you're going to hear this a lot, is obviously be yourself. However, at the same time, it's not so much you're selling yourself, because they'd have an interest in you from your initial application. So you're halfway through the door. All they're coming to do is just to, seal the deal, really, see what you are, see what you're about, your lifestyle, how you present as a person, because at the same time, we need to make sure that, A, the children are going to be safe with you, and the agency are making the right decision. And you've kind of like got an indication, because they're coming for an assessment. So if they're coming for an assessment, then you must have had something that they've seen in you that, could benefit the agency and a potential child that's going to require your help. So I'd say don't daunt on it. Don't overstress yourself out about an assessment. It's about just making sure they've got the right person. And very more than likely, with the first step, with fostering and take you through the assessment stage, they have found the right person.
And finally, do you think we'll be here in 12 years' time, interviewing you again?
Of course. Will I be here in 12 years' time?
Mm-hmm.
Of course. I mean, there's no reason why not. I mean, children are still going to be children. There's a huge demand for fostering. Unfortunately, we don't have as many foster carers in the United Kingdom as we'd like. But again, it's about the experiencing and getting to know, because fostering is for, you could potentially say anyone can foster, but especially if you are a good communicator, or you've got something to share with a child, or you can relate to a child, because ultimately a child needs somebody that can listen, that can provide a roof over their head, and that can offer them some form of stability. And the majority of adults can do that. There's no hierarchy or top desired person that would meet that threshold. You come with what you got and you offer what you got, and very more than likely children are just happy to have that person that comes as they are and is honest and sincere and wants to be a part of their life.
Michael, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.